What did it mean to be a Warrior in those early years?
Oh, there was a lot of hype, you know. There was a lot of hype around at the time because the game had gone to another level, you know, like the game, like coming on TV, you know, State of Origin, the effect that that has on the game back home, you know. So you got all these things, and being a Warrior, I mean, you're part of something unique here, you know. We're the only team in New Zealand, and certainly, you know, when the team's not going well, they're from Auckland. If the team's going good, they're from New Zealand. And sometimes they're just from Penrose, which is where the Warriors are based when they're not going good. But, yeah, look, it's certainly something special that, you know, being a Warrior, one club in the country's was great.
You do feel like you're not just representing one city. You do feel like you've got the entire country with you, good or bad, and that's a massive responsibility. So the good times are boon times, the bad times must feel pretty lonely.
Yeah, they are, you know, and, you know, especially the last couple of years, you know, being based away from home. Earlier on, there were times with ownership changes and whatnot, a lot of coach changes, player changes, so you know, they can certainly make things, you know, unsettled. And, you know, right now at the moment, the team's going really good because I feel that there's really strong connection at the top. You know, Cameron George is doing a great job. Mark Robinson, the owner, just so passionate about the club. And then Andrew Webster, what he's bought. And you look at the players that, how they're playing at the moment. Sean, you know, Tohu, Adam Finnell-Blake. There's a whole bunch of them that are on top of their game. And I just feel that if the leaders are strong in the group, it just feeds its way back down.
Jadwatt says that's tackle 5. From Mears away to Stacey Jones. Another little kick over the top. Odin Ryan is streaming through. It's play on as it's picked up now by Deep. They've got numbers. Stacey Jones. He's over the 20, over the 10. He's going to get there, the halfback. That's a beautifully constructed try again. The man that set it up has finished it off.
For you in those early years, you're described as a rare instinctive brilliance, a genius in attack, courageous in defence, because there's not a lot of you, but you threw yourself into every contest. What was that competitiveness or that drive that you had within yourself, and obviously the talent to match?
Yeah, oh, look, I just, you know, you always take it back to, you know, why you play the game, because you loved it growing up, you know, and you know, the instinctiveness of it was probably just, you know, all those hours and hours of in the backyard or, you know, down the local park. And I wouldn't call myself courageous in defence, though. I used to hide a lot. But, yeah, look, yeah, it just comes back to, you know, loving the game as a kid. You know, it's something that, you know, makes you that sort of player that you can be.
And then by 2002, you're in the grand final up against the Roosters. It doesn't get any bigger. What do you remember of the build-up, and how were the emotions on the day? Oh, look,
the build-up was unbelievable. You know, there's only 2 teams left in the comp. How hard it is to get there, and it went so quick. You know, the build-up. You know, we played the semi-final on the Sunday, flew home Sunday night, I think it was, and then had to come back a couple of days later. So it went real quick. The game went real quick, and yeah, losing's not a good memory of that day, Vonnie. But look, from where the club was at to where it got to in that time was something that was pretty special.
There is one moment of that grand final that fans still hang on to, and they still call it one of the most brilliant individual tries. What do you beat about 3 Roosters from 30 metres out, and the Warriors are in the lead, and the unthinkable is now possible. Can you remember seeing the defence and being able to read it?
I don't really remember too much. Well, I just remember, I think got offload from Jerry, and sort of just went through and just opened up.
New Zealand are level! At 18 years of age, Stacey Jones was tagged as probably New Zealand's greatest ever prospect in rugby league. Well, he's now 26, and I tell you what, don't worry about just Kiwis. He can stand alongside some of the modern greats of the game. He's a champion, Stacey Jones.
I'd certainly give that moment back any day of the week for a different result.
The heartbreak of losing a grand final obviously stays with you, and I was reading some fans' recollections, even though it's, what, 20 years ago now. And they said, we'll never forget how Stacey made us feel. Even though he had tears in his eyes, he stayed, he signed autographs, he spoke to us. And even though they were hurting, they recognised that you were going through it in exactly the same time. And they've never forgotten how you made them feel important.
It was an exciting week, and you know, it was great to be a part of this, and obviously we're very disappointed, you know, but we'll pick ourselves up from this and come back better and stronger. And thanks to all our supporters that came over from New Zealand. Thanks a lot.
Just coming together in that moment.
Yeah, look, I wasn't the only one. There was, you know, 16 other blokes too that were feeling like that and did the same stuff, you know. And you know, we had an unbelievable coach, Daniel, you know, that gave us some good belief around that time. And not only belief taught us around footy, it was just life in general too, what he gave us, you know, Daniel. So, yeah, it was a special group to be a part of, like I said, from where we'd come from.
Remember your very first Kiwi cap?
Yep, we nearly got beaten too by Tonga, and we should have got beaten if it wasn't for Matthew Ridge dropping a field goal. It was over in UK in the '95 World Cup, and I think we were down like 24-12 with 5 minutes to go, and we scored 2 quick tries, and then he drops a field goal. So my international career could have been over fairly quickly if it wasn't for Ridgie.
One of your coaches, Frank Endicott, said he remembered giving you your jersey, and then he walked through the hotel corridor and all the players had their room doors open, and everyone's just relaxing and going through their own process. And he said he looked into your room and you're sitting there watching the TV with your Kiwi number 7 jersey on. Did it mean so much to you? Were you that proud?
Yeah, I was very proud. Growing up with the game and going back to my grandfather playing for New Zealand, and like that was my first love of the game, was watching the Kiwis play, you know. And you know, the Kiwis of the 80s is, you know, folklore for me back home, you know. So yeah, it was a special moment.
What are some of the best moments? The test tours, the Anzac test matches, the Tri-Nations. What stands out for you? We had some really good moments. I remember playing an Anzac Day test in New Zealand at North Harbour, and we beat Australia. We played Allen Road in the Tri-Nations final. That was pretty cool. We won that. Yeah, there's plenty of games not to talk about too. What's the thrill in beating the Aussies? Like, it's got to be a kick.
Yeah, you know, it's probably similar to, say, you know, the Wallabies beating the All Blacks, you know. Doesn't happen that often, and when it happens, you're very happy. So, but, you know, they're the pinnacle. Like, I mean, you know, you got State of Origin, that, you know, that's up there, but then they pick their best players for Australia, and you're up against the best. You know it's going to be a challenge, and when you are able to get a job done, you cherish those moments.
The tone of a test match is very different, and the Kiwis certainly bring a lot of power, they bring a lot of physicality, they bring a lot of finesse. And does it feel like you're at the top of the world, you're playing the best of the best, and you're representing everyone from back home? One
thing with the Kiwi jersey, like, you know, the culture around it, you know, like, we don't have Origin, you know, so I don't know what, if you ask, you know, an Origin player, is it more special to play for your state or for your country, you know, and I'd say some of them might say it might be their state. You know, I don't know, I could be wrong, but for us, it's our country, you know, representing, you know, and the Kiwi jerseys, one thing I do remember is, you know, when you come into that environment, you do feel the culture change, different to clubland, you know, and different sort of a feeling, but it's a strong, strong feeling.
Who was your greatest competitor on the world stage?
I always loved my challenge battles with Joey, you know, and I'd say every halfback of our era would have said that, you know, and every time you got one over him, it was special, but it didn't happen that often, Bonnie, you know, so, you know, like, the good thing about playing with him, and even Alf, you know, was, you know, you could go and have a beer with them after the game and just, you know, give each other, I can't swear, but, you know, a bit of a ribbing, and it was more often them giving me a ribbing.
Because what is that? Away from the field, you're all actually quite similar. Joey, Alfie, Stace, you're all legends. The fans absolutely adore you all, and you all like to just kick back and relax afterwards.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of it, you know. You know, the game's probably changed a little bit where they're a bit more professional and you can't sort of show yourself a little as much as you can, but yeah, that's a good part of the game, you know. It's a good part where you can sort of catch up and just talk rubbish. Yeah.
How did it feel in 2002 to be heralded as the greatest player that we have in the world, the Golden Boot. What was that honour like?
Yeah, it was certainly, you know, something special, very special, you know, because it'd been going around for a while, the Golden Boot, and I never thought that, you know, I was in contention for it. And, yeah, no, it was, yeah, something that I was very proud of.
Now, you saved the club 100 times on the field, and then more recently they needed your services in the coach's box. You've got experience with coaching, but what were the challenges? How difficult was that at that time in after COVID, and to jump in, and the Warriors must have felt so disconnected from who they are and where they're from at that point.
Yeah, it certainly was a challenge. Believe it or not, though, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being, you know, interim coach for that period of time, purely because I knew I wasn't going to be doing it for long term, you know. So I said, let's just enjoy it here, and it was about, you know, keeping our head above water. Like, there was a lot of stuff that was going on, and, you know, being away from home, and, you know, players being homesick, and, you know, even staff being homesick. And the good thing, when I actually took over, there was a bit of light at the end of the tunnel that we were going home for some games, you know, but we still had to come back because we were based in Australia. But, you know, it certainly was a challenge, but it probably, you know, when you look at that, it's probably where it's put the club in now, you know, because we were able to be back home, reconnect with not just our fans, but sponsors, people that work in the office, you know, and just the, you know, the country in general, that we can get back home. And you sometimes realise when something's taken away from you, how actually special it is that when you do get it back.
And now the Warriors are the best ticket in town. Your home games are like a rock concert. The fans are off their head about it. What's it like now to be part of that? Go back into Mount Smart Stadium, and you've even, you know, you've travelled around. You've got Waikato coming up. The Warriors are the best thing in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, even at our captain's run, we get so many people turn up. It's like, you know, there's a lot of reasons behind it, you know, and I'll go back to, you know, I'll talk about Mark Robinson, Cameron George, Webby, the players, you know, the senior players on the team have been unreal, you know, Sean, Tohu, Adam, Mitch Barnett, Dylan Walker, you know, Wade Egan, you know, they've been, you know, immense for the group, and they're just buying into, you know, what the club is all about, you know, with our, you know, morals, and what, you know, the people at top that I've mentioned, what they've instilled, what they want, and we're all heading in the right direction, where probably in the last few years it was used that way. We weren't sort of going in the same way, but it seems to be going pretty good at the moment, touch wood, that, you know, we can, you know, get a few more wins this year.